Prime Minister, gas prices are up, petrol prices are up, food prices are up. This is a very serious cost of living crisis, isn't it?
What we're seeing, and first of all, I appreciate that many people find the going tough at the moment and have done for a long time, and I'm afraid that the phenomena that we're seeing at the moment are very, very much part of a global phenomenon of the world economy coming alive, waking up, and sucking in demand, and that with the consequences for some prices for things such as gas and other things, road haulage, that you're seeing. And you've got a shortage of truck drivers in China, for heaven's sake. You've got a shortage of truck drivers in America, neither of which, by the way, to get to one argument, are members of the European Union. So there's a global issue. I think that it is caused by the stresses and strains of rapid growth. This country's got the fastest economic growth of anywhere in the G7. That's because we've been able to open up our society faster than most other places in Europe because of
the causes are really not the point. The problem is that people are suffering. They are wondering, how they're going to heat their homes and buy food. And this is happening at a time when you have cut their income by reducing the universal credit uplift. You're increasing national insurance. You've frozen tax allowances. You're making them poorer.
Well, what we're seeing actually over the more than a year or so is an increase in wages, and it's high time that it happened, frankly, because I think that we've had an environment in the UK where we've accepted a low wage, low skill, low productivity approach, and that needs to change. But to address, but I'm coming to your point about what people are going through. So, for those who are in hardship, we've set up a new £500 million fund to help them.
But it's a drop in the ocean of the £6 billion you've taken away with the universal credit. 500 versus £6 billion you've taken away.
Yeah, but you're seeing a big increase in wages around the whole country, and what you're also seeing is an economy that's coming back to life. And I would rather see people being paid more through good jobs and better paid jobs than because what you're talking about is taking more money in tax and pushing it from everybody and pushing it through the welfare system to subsidise low pay. That's what it is, and it'd be much better if pay increased.
I think everybody would agree that it would be a brilliant thing for the country if we had fewer low-paid jobs and more high-paid jobs.
Okay, then we're at one.
Of course we're at one about that, but let's look at this issue of pay and productivity.
Yes.
Because over the coming months, the pay rises that we are seeing for HGV drivers, for fruit pickers, for people in the supply chain, are actually making the country less productive because, broadly, there is no investment at the moment and they are doing the same job for more money. So you are actually doing the reverse of what you want to do. You are reducing productivity.
No.
And you know what you are. That's exactly what's happening.
Okay, Robert, look, and here's what needs to happen. And you know it as well as I do, that for 2 decades, most of our lifetimes, the UK has relied on a certain economic model, which has meant that we're basically per head per worker, we're less productive. It's a terrible thing to admit, but we're less productive.
But you and I agree about this. Compared to Germany and France, it's a scandal.
And the United States of America, and even Italy, and so on. So the answer is not to go back to the old model. That's why this is a new government with a new approach, right? Don't go back to the old model.
Sure, we agree about this.
But
the transition to where we are to where you want to go will take years. And in the meantime, you are reducing productivity and you are risking inflation and you're actually risking interest rates going up at precisely the wrong moment.
In a famous phrase, there is no alternative. There is no alternative. The UK has got to and we can do much, much better by becoming a higher wage, higher productivity economy. And what I think, we've got fantastic supply chain, fantastically clever people work on our logistics, and they will fix all these problems. But what we need to do
I'm talking about transition costs between. There are costs between where we are now and this vision of a much more productive, better off society.
Let's see where we get to, because you're already starting to hear from some of the actors in some of the players that things are starting to improve. So if you listen to Morrison's, if you listen to some of the food companies, they're starting to see a way through, and we will get that, because this is, frankly, by far the best thing for this country. You look at road haulage. One of the reasons you don't have enough lorry drivers in the UK is it hasn't, frankly, been a profession in which people have invested. They haven't invested in the truck stops. People have to pee in the bushes and all the rest of it. It hasn't been something that people have wanted to do. So you have, and the same goes for a lot of jobs where you could have more efficient business practices, more automation. That's why we put in the super deduction for business, so that they can invest in equipment, invest in capital, invest in stuff they need to help their workers, to make jobs easier and more productive.
Just on a related point,
yes,
look, inflation is rising. It is feeding through both to wages and then back to prices. Around the world, there is a risk of interest rates rising. This combination of slow growth, inflation, interest rates rising is the sort of thing that should be keeping you up at night.
Well, let's see where we get to, and people have talked for a long time about these issues, and we've seen inflationary pressures come and go, and I think that we've got fantastically effective supply chains that will enable supply to match demand. What you're seeing is pressures driven by global demand as the giant of the economy wakes up. That's what's sucking in this gas from Russia to China to Malaysia, all these countries that are absorbing huge quantities of gas as they come back to life, and similarly for truck drivers. But we have a massive amount of resilience and imagination in this economy, and we're going to get through it very, very well. I confidently predict, as I've said many times, that this Christmas will be considerably better than last Christmas. So
can't be worse. That is not a fair comparison.
Well, look, I'm telling you, it's going to be much better than last Christmas. All right. So
I'm not sure our viewers are going to be that reassured. But now, listen, you also want people on low pay. I mean, obviously, in the long term, to be way better pay, but you also want them to be a bit better off now. Minimum wage, right?
Yes. Okay.
And when do you want it to be £10? When do you want it to be £10 an hour?
The great thing about the minimum wage commission is it's independent. It has to look at it. Don't forget, the living wage was something that I helped pioneer in London, put up a lot in London. Mm-hmm. We then, central government then burgled the policy from me, quite rightly. And it's now
it's £10. Come on, when is it going to be £10? It's £8.91 at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. And I think that's up to the Living Wage Commission. Let's see where they get to, and we'll be responding to them. We certainly will be looking at what they have to say with interest.
Just to be clear, the Living Wage Commission, which is not the one that recommends the stuff to government, that's the Low Pay Commission. The Living Wage Commission says it ought to be over £10 in London, £9.50 already.
Sorry, you're quite right. But we will take our guidance from the Low Pay Commission, and we will see where we get to. But I'm proud that we've raised it by so much. But it's not. It's only one of the things that we're doing. The gentleman behind you is drawing his hand across his throat. Yeah. I don't know why he's doing that. But everybody always trying to get me to stop talking these days.
There's just one other subject which I've got one question on. Forgive me, because there's so much on everybody's mind, which is that sort of, the awful Sarah Everard case, and the sort of scandal of abuse, sexual violence, not being prosecuted fast enough. Can I just ask you? Look, it's a really sort of heart-wrenching question, as it were. I mean, look, if somebody close to you was a victim of sexual violence, how confident would you be right now that justice would be done?
That's precisely the question. I want everybody in this country, Robert, to have confidence in our police and in our criminal justice system. And what the appalling murder of Sarah Everard has triggered is this sense amongst millions of people, particularly women, that the criminal justice system does not work fast enough and that the police do not take these crimes, these reports seriously enough. And one of the reasons why the police aren't able to do as much as they would like is simply because they know that the cases that they bring to the prosecutors don't end up often enough in successful conviction. And there are many reasons for that. You know all about the
How much of it is the culture of the police and the culture of the system?
It's all of it. It's all of it, Robert. And so you need to contract the delays in the in the criminal justice system. So from report to referral to prosecution to the end of the trial, you need to contract all that, and it's far too long, and the evidential business is far too laborious. We need to sort that out. But you also need to address the issue with policing, and to make sure that police understand the sensitivity of these issues and they handle them in the right way. One thing that we're doing is greatly increasing the number of female officers, which I believe can make a big difference. So in the Met, the force that's been particularly affected by what's been happening, the numbers are now up at about 40% for recruits. But then they've got to progress up the ranks, and I think that will have a big effect on culture, but there are many, many other things that we need to do in the meantime.